You are nothing to me anymore. Never step foot in this house again." My father's harsh words echoed in my ears as John, my soon-to-be husband, stood by my side. With tears streaming down my face, I left my family home. It was right after I graduated from high school. My name is Amy, and I'm now a 36-year-old farmer. This year marks 18 years since I walked out of my family home. Realizing that I have spent more time living my own life than in my family home makes me quite sentimental. I grew up in a city where my father worked as a corporate employee and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. We were a family of 4, including my older brother, who was born a year ahead of me. My parents had a clear hierarchy for their children, with my brother, the heir, always receiving preferential treatment. His meals were better, his birthday presents more lavish. He reveled in his superiority and constantly belittled me. I often felt lonely and cried out for attention, but my parents never wavered, so I eventually gave up trying. The turning point in my life came during the summer of my second year of high school. My brother was preparing for college entrance exams, aiming for a top-tier university, but his mock exam results were poor. Frustrated and on edge, he took out his anger on me. My parents, treating him like a fragile object, gave me all the household chores to keep him stress-free, leaving me no time to study. Because my grades were better than his, they tried to lower them to boost his mood. It made no sense to me. Around that time, I heard about a rural experience program from one of my teachers. The program allowed students to spend 2 nights and 3 days on a host farm, harvesting vegetables, cooking, and experiencing country life. Troubled by my family situation, I decided to participate, hoping for a brief escape. But my father objected, saying, "Agriculture is something only fools who can't get corporate jobs do for a living." My mother scoffed at me. "Are you crazy? Willingly experiencing manual labor, getting dirty and stinky in the mud?" Despite their objections, I defied my parents and used my saved pocket money to sign up. This was the first time I had ever refused to follow their orders. It turned out to be an excellent decision. For someone starved for familial love, the experience was truly wonderful. Working in the fresh rural air was invigorating, and I felt the warmth of a real family. The eldest son of that family, John, was a year older than me, the same age as my brother. Initially, I was wary of John simply because he was an older guy, but he was nothing like my brother. John was kind but firm, had a great relationship with his parents, and treated me with kindness as well. His parents were gentle and welcoming, and even though it was only for 3 days, I cried a lot when I had to leave the farm. John's mom cried along with me, saying, "You're welcome back anytime. I promised I would return." They didn't use cell phones much, so I wrote them letters regularly. Before long, I started receiving more replies from John, and our correspondence turned into a kind of exchange diary. Eventually, we started dating. It was a pure long-distance relationship without even a kiss. After my brother failed to get into his first-choice university and ended up at a third-rate private college, I became a college applicant, but my parents pressured me to get a job instead of going to college. They claimed that women didn't need an education, but the real reason was likely that they didn't want me to attend a better college than my brother. Since the rural experience, I had dreamed of becoming a farmer. I knew I could pursue farming without a college degree, but John was a college student living in the city, so I decided to attend college and aim for innovative farming methods. With a clear goal in mind, I studied diligently every day, despite interference from my parents and brother. When I passed the university entrance exam, my father was furious. "Are you, a woman, planning to go to a better university than your brother?" he roared. My mother added, "We don't have money to spend on you. Your brother needs the money, so you should work and bring money home." Devastated by their words, I had a huge fight with my parents and ended up cutting all ties with them. John came to pick me up from home, and his parents, who would become my in-laws, supported my college expenses. I attended college thanks to their generosity. 4 years later, I married John. During my college years, I had no contact with my parents or brother. However, when my in-laws suggested we at least inform them of the marriage, we visited my childhood home for the first time in 4 years. The timing right after graduation was chaotic, and it was also planting season, so we couldn't visit until the beginning of summer. My in-laws, my husband, and I arrived with sunburned, darkened faces from working outside. My parents and brother openly ridiculed us. My mother asked, "No offense, but how old are you exactly? You must be quite poor to be working until you're all dark like this." I was mortified. "Please stop, Mom," I implored in a small voice. But she ignored me. My brother smirked and said, "Smart people like me make money with intellectual work. If you can only do primitive work, it's proof you're unintelligent." I turned pale and the gentle smiles on my in-laws' faces froze. My husband firmly declared, with all due respect, we are proud to be farmers. My father laughed condescendingly and said to me, just to make it clear, you're a stranger to us from now on. You're marrying a poor farmer who has to sweat and work hard. We're going to treat you as if you don't exist. It'll be a problem if you come asking us for money. We don't want to see you anymore. Already disowned at 18, I knew I was on my own, even without explicit confirmation. Despite this, I had tried to maintain some semblance of courtesy. The sympathetic looks from John and my in-laws were difficult to bear. On the way home, I quietly wept and resolved to let go of my biological family. Time passed swiftly, and 18 years slipped by. The emotional wounds had healed deeply. I had become a mother of 2, and my days were full and rewarding. Though I had nearly erased memories of my parents and brother, news came through a cousin that my brother was soon to be married. My cousin and I had remained close, occasionally keeping in touch even after my marriage. I had once sent them rice harvested from our farm, which they enjoyed, becoming regular customers. Thus our bond persisted, chatting on the phone about once a month. We can finally meet again at the wedding, my cousin suggested. However, I hadn't received any news about the marriage from my parents or brother. Well, given our estrangement, it wasn't surprising. I heard they're building a new duplex. I wonder if it's finished. Apparently, both my parents and my brother and his wife planned to move in after the wedding. My cousin knew about the rift between my parents and me but seemed to assume I would attend family gatherings like weddings and funerals. After hanging up with my cousin, impulsively, I dialed my mother's cell phone number. It rang, but an automated message informed me this number is no longer in use. I tried my father's number next, with the same result. Had they changed their numbers? I didn't know my brother's number, so I couldn't call him. With trembling fingers, I dialed the landline of my childhood home, waiting anxiously for someone to answer. Hello. It was my brother who answered. Brother, it's Amy. I heard you're getting married and moving. I began, unsure of how to proceed, about to offer congratulations when my brother cut me off. There's no need for you to do anything. You, a farmer, are a stranger to me. Don't call me. He yelled and abruptly hung up. I tried calling back immediately, only to discover that I had already been blocked. His rejection was harsh. Despite our differences, we were still family. It hurt deeply to be treated this way. Seeing my distress, my husband became concerned and gently asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Unable to hold back my tears any longer, I recounted the conversation to him. Both my husband and my in-laws reacted with a mixture of anger and empathy, as if they themselves had been slighted. Your home is here with us, Amy. You're part of our family, reassured my mother-in-law, her words touching my heart deeply. I wish she could be my real mother, showing more care and concern than my biological mother ever had. My father-in-law chimed in with comforting words, your happiness matters most. Don't let this hurt you. The one who laughs last, laughs best. My husband added, let's learn from this and make sure we're never like them. Even our children, sensing my distress without fully understanding it, hugged me tightly. Thank you, everyone, I said, feeling a warmth in my heart, realizing how blessed I was despite lacking support from my biological family. However, life took an unexpected turn when my business was featured on national television. Originally large-scale grain farmers in the American Midwest, my in-laws also grew various fruits and vegetables, some of which didn't meet market standards. Drawing on my college education in food business, I devised ways to repurpose this surplus produce into jams, juices, and pickles, which I sold online. Supported by the local farmers union, my venture thrived, resonating with mothers seeking safe, locally sourced foods and seniors craving nostalgic homemade flavors. I built the business alongside other women who, like me, married into farming families and unemployed youths. It quickly grew into a $5 million enterprise, celebrated for its innovation. Our success story garnered widespread attention and was detailed in a comprehensive report. After the TV broadcast, our phones were inundated with calls, from orders and inquiries to business proposals and interview requests. The constant ringing of both the company's line and my personal smartphone made it impossible to ignore any incoming call, including one from an unknown number that I answered without hesitation. To my surprise, it was my brother. He must have seen the national television coverage of my success. After brief greetings, he abruptly asked, I'm thinking of starting a business. Can you lend me some money? Excuse me. I said no. I felt a wave of aversion and coldly rejected his request before hanging up. Moments later, he called again. Quit arguing and give me the money. If a woman like you can start a business and make money, I can definitely succeed, he shouted persistently. His demanding attitude was not what I expected from someone asking for a loan, and I couldn't help but wonder where he found such confidence. It was ironic considering it was my brother who had labeled me a total stranger, a simple farmer undeserving of his acknowledgement. Without engaging further, I asked something that had been bothering me. Who decided not to inform me about the move? It was me. My wife, she's a city girl. As soon as I mentioned you, she insisted we sever ties. That explained it. Not wanting to hear more, I ended the call and blocked his number. It dawned on me that my brother's wife, whom I had never met, seemed to share the same traits as my brother and parents. The fact that my brother had seen me on TV likely meant that my parents had too. A few hours later, what I thought was another call from an unknown number turned out to be my father. "Why are you the boss? Did you steal a man's job?" he demanded. "Well, both John and my father-in-law are deeply involved in our farming business, so it's only natural," I replied calmly. In reality, it was part of large-scale consolidation, a strategy advantageous for larger farms. My father-in-law served as the president of the local agricultural association, and John had incorporated his share of the farm, becoming president of the corporation. Perhaps my explanation resonated with him because he changed his tone. "You've become distant. Why haven't you reached out to us?" I was taken aback by his question but replied firmly, "You disowned me. I'm ending this conversation," and promptly hung up, blocking his number as well. A few minutes later, my phone rang again, and it was my mother on the line. "Why won't you give your brother money? You're making $500 million a year, right? Send some money home. We're your real family. Have you forgotten everything we did for you, raising you? At least send us $300 million, or at least $250 million. My mother's demands were the most aggressive yet. Despite the business's $500 million in revenue, after expenses and salaries, there was little left over. I tried to explain, but my mother cut me off, accusing, "You're lying. There's no way that's true." Growing irritated, I firmly responded, "I'm not sending any money, whether I have it or not. We're strangers now," and then hung up, blocking her number. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was mistaken. Shortly after, my parents, brother, and his unknown wife showed up uninvited at my in-laws' house. My father spoke first. "Amy, want to hear a surprise? I'm rescinding the disavowment." Their desperation for money stunned me. My mother-in-law, bewildered by the intrusion, asked, "What is happening here?" Even my father-in-law and the employees around us were silently observing with discomfort. My brother seemed aware he wasn't welcome either. "Blood ties mean we deserve a share of your earnings," my father asserted. His wife nodded in agreement. Anger surged within me. "Not anymore. Even if we share blood, there's been no emotional connection. You treated me like a stranger and abandoned me," I retorted, feeling the old wounds reopen, almost bringing tears to my eyes. John arrived beside me, standing tall. "Amy is part of our family now. Whether you disown her or not, we are happy. Please leave," he said firmly, defending me without hesitation. The employees chimed in unison, criticizing my parents. "What were you thinking? How rude." Their unified support bolstered my spirits. In that moment, surrounded by those who stood by me, I felt a profound sense of belonging and happiness. My brother's anger flared. Shut up, you country bumpkins. You're all uneducated trash, aren't you? Just obey quietly," he raged. John calmly responded, "Well, both my father and I are Ivy League graduates, and Amy graduated from a prestigious agricultural university." He casually revealed our educational backgrounds. "What? Despite being Ivy League graduates, why are you farming?" My brother's surprise was evident. For him, being a university graduate was likely his sole source of pride, and he hadn't anticipated being outdone in education. With composure, John stated, "Farming is a noble profession. We apply our college education fully in our work." I couldn't help but burst into laughter at the irony of the situation. "Brother, you've been bested by John in every aspect." Through laughter, I felt a sense of relief, realizing I had perhaps feared my brother and parents too much. Yet I needed to make one final point crystal clear. We are strangers now. Pausing for a moment, I shifted to a more measured tone. "I cannot lend or give money to strangers. Please leave. If you cause a scene or act aggressively, I will involve the police and take legal action." My declaration of our estrangement was firm and resolute. My in-laws and husband swiftly moved closer, shielding me from any potential harm from my parents and brother. Their protective gesture deeply touched me, reaffirming how cherished I truly felt. The employees joined in, shouting at my parents, "Get out! Go home!" My parents, brother, and sister-in-law glared at us with resentment, unable to utter another word, and eventually retreated. According to my cousin, they attempted a risky business venture with borrowed money after failing to obtain funds from me, driven by their arrogant demeanor. Predictably, their venture ended in a significant failure, leaving them teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. However, I have chosen to remain estranged. I have no intention of getting involved anymore. Meanwhile, my own work flourishes, surrounded by my supportive and respectable in-laws, a loving husband, and our delightful children. Each day, I cherish the happiness of my life, savoring every moment.